PlayStation versus Xbox, a war between both of them has been raging on since the Ice Age. A little bit further back, not that Ice Age. A little bit further. There, that's it. Feels like this year is very rough for gaming and it could also overflow into 2025. Xbox have put their bandage on announcing games for next year, and PlayStation have their own bandage with Astrobot. Bot. But one part of the big three is thriving amongst the chaos, this being Nintendo.
Peaches.
Hi and welcome back to Mumbling Game. On today's we'll be mumbling about how in the Bowser's hell is Nintendo surviving these worrying, chaotic video game times. And for this, I think we need something special on the green screen. Yeah, that'll do. Firstly, we have to talk about the golden generation of Nintendo. The Switch created a golden generation that really didn't let you down. Through the last 8 years, it felt like we had every port, every sequel, and even some naughty little surprises. Maybe they did lack original IPs, but they have created massive anticipation for the next generation.
Been waiting for this thing to come out for months, and now every day time is slowing down.
We all want that Mario Odyssey 2, that new Smash Bros. What might not happen but a new game may happen, and that Metroid 4, and it's all coming to the next generation of Switch. Well, I hope they are. And we say that about Xbox or PlayStation. PlayStation currently just had a rumour of the PlayStation 6, and it felt that there was more hate than excitement, making it feel there's really no anticipation for the next generation. The Switch feels like that perfect generation, and with it, that excitement for the next. And another way they have done this compared to other generations is video game icons are a dime a dozen. These fake humans, hedgehogs and lumbuxes are beloved by fans, but no one has more respect for them than Nintendo. Think of it like this, the world of gaming, Mario is like a god and Zelda is like a demigod. He's not as much respected.
I need to stop this now.
I'm never gonna stop.
They're so delicate with what they do with them in the mainline series, obviously not with the other things. Even in their spin-offs, they kind of do sometimes. A bit too much though, sometimes. These worlds are really respected by the developers, even though they're kind of also crazy worlds. Then there's the fact of the spin-offs. Near every Mario character has had a game, from the side character of Toad to the once damsel in distress turned into main character royalty.
Down the hatch. Yep, there it is, and all gone.
Even the goddamn brother got a game. They've grown these characters into something special and worth purchasing just to play as that character, and therefore that IP.
May never leave. You want to leave.
Nintendo doesn't need webbing or claws to get you excited about their games. They roll out the Mario and Luigi carpet in an RPG and people, including myself, get excited. Xbox is the closest to do this with their green and shiny guy. No, not that guy. Master Chief is an icon of Microsoft and it's shown through its games, with having multiple crossovers throughout. Xbox even did this with Gears of War, with multiple spin-offs, even though it does feel like slightly Xbox doesn't really have that much respect for them now as compared to what they used to.
No!
Oh, what the hell?
What's all the hubbub?
Oh, thank you, Dad. Thank you.
Yes, Nintendo in the past have made some blunders with the Mario movies and also the TV shows sometimes in different eras.
I want my feet licked.
Even though Nintendo have redeemed themselves with the glorious Mario movie, even though we kind of don't know what the future will hold, as that Zelda currently movie isn't looking as promising as the Mario movie, but we could be surprised. We probably will be. Mario is already good at it, but isn't it live action? Oh, I'm so worried about that. Ooh, note that down for video idea as well. Worried about Zelda movie. Should we be worried about the Zelda movie? But it feels like the other companies are still in that they won't notice phase. Xbox though took their shiny yellow top shelf guy and put them in a dumpster fire, and did the one thing you do not do to Master Chief. Show the face.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
And I think this is one of the reasons why Nintendo is thriving in a worrying environment. Don't get me started on PlayStation either.
You're basic.
Not so long ago, in a distant land, we used to buy video games physically. We used to put them in that little grey or black box and play them over and over again. But now, some things have changed. We have digital subscriptions, digital only games, and also games as service stuff. But Nintendo doesn't really do this. Nintendo have done some weird kind of controversial things this generation that even PlayStation don't do. I hated the 3D Mario Star exclusive time slot release with a passion.
Hate. Double hate.
But apart from that, this generation has had some kind of norm way of doing things, and the future is looking kind of similar, and it's looking like it works, as it's been the status quo per se for a while, and Nintendo are just keeping to it compared to Xbox, for example. Xbox is selling its soul into a money pit of subscription, and PlayStation are releasing the same game over and over and over again. Basically, PlayStation is like Groundhog Day, and Xbox is kind of like the Canadian devil, and Nintendo is basically like Mad Max. You never really know what's going to happen, but if you just stay for the ride, you're going to have a great time. Actually, let's do this. Comment below your thoughts on what Nintendo would be as a film or a character. Also, throw down your thoughts of what you think about Xbox and PlayStation as well. Anyway, Nintendo, it's stuck to this status quo of game. It sticks to the similar path of buying games, owning the game, and I think it's kind of kept their loyal fan base happy, like myself.
Did we play the new game?
Near every major game gets a release through this way. Most games that release on the Switch actually become the most sold games of their franchise, from Pikmin to Animal Crossing. All of them have made history on this console. You could say Nintendo have done this through dark means. As you looked at the resale value of some of the Nintendo's games, they skyrocketed to about £100. And for example, I think that 1000 Years Doors was close to that number or above that number before the game's release. And it could say these increase the anticipation for the remakes. There is a small argument though that Nintendo did try their hardest not to do these remakes and remasters to get people more intrigued by upcoming releases.
Don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it!
And that is why we can't play any of the old Animal Crossings on the Switch. That is literally the pea in the princess's bed. It's the cat in the box theory. Did they do that on purpose to drive up sales, or did they just not make them because before this they had that virtual store thing in the last generation? I don't really know, and I don't want to open that box to find out. Alongside this, I really can't imagine Nintendo making a games as service game, like a proper one, like a free-to-play purchase skin type game. The closest thing they have done is release these battle royale types things inspired by classic games that just feels like nice ways to give people nostalgia. Look at PlayStation now, for example.
I wonder if it's loaded. No.
I'm not talking about Concord because everyone has talked about Concord, but I will say this. And Xbox kind of did this with Halo out of all things with their multiplayer. Nintendo has just kept to the reason why we play games, while other companies are, well, arm wrestling over these graphics and realism and all this kind of crap, and Nintendo's just here playing games. But with that, we do have the slight thorn that could damage Nintendo in the next generation and its survival of that generation. I'm not saying it's going anywhere, I'm just saying it's the thorn in the foot. Show a thorn foot image? Yeah, that. The paw. Thorn in the paw. That's a better one. It's the thorn in the paw of Nintendo in the next generation. However, there is one thing that has bulked up this generation and made it feel even bigger. It's the ports of the failed generation before it. Think like this. Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 9 are technically ports from the Wii U. In the next generation, the Switch 2 doesn't really have that category to back up on, and it could even damage the survival of the next generation, even though technically they didn't touch the Wii ports that much. And after many videos on the Switch now, I really want that Wii attitude on the next generation, and maybe that could be what they fall back on. I think that is my little worry for the next generation, as it won't have that fallback they did in the last one. I do think they have had a weird kind of release schedule, as near every console before has kind of let down in comparison. Even though the GameCube now is legendary, I don't think it was as legendary as it released, and that kind of hyped up the performance of the Wii. And I think that has happened many times through Nintendo's weird innovation. This is kind of the only time Nintendo are looking at their consoles, I think, and thinking, let's just release well, a sequel. Let's DS this. Let's just improve this. Let's just make a sequel. Let's do what we failed to do with the Wii and just make the Switch 2. I think that shows what Nintendo are going for this generation. But it does kind of give you that feeling of what's going to happen in the dull periods when there's nothing to remaster. Well, obviously they go back to these dark remakes they never did, maybe. But it's just a slight worry, and it feels like we've never really been in this situation before. That is another reason why Nintendo is so good at surviving through these worrying times, as it's such an innovative, adaptable company, as it's weird and wacky, but still keeps to that traditional status quo, so to speak. Games. When you look at PlayStation, Xbox, it doesn't feel like they're growing the audience. It feels like more like the audience have grown up. Take Kratos and God of War, for example. We used to be a rage-filled, mid-20s kind of guy. But now we're a 40-year-old man with kids. But when you look at Nintendo, it keeps this audience, but also grows a new audience through younger generations. It's like Disneyland and them weird Disney adults. Some people, after they are introduced to Mickey the Mouse and still loves the product. I think this is similar to Mario and other characters like Kirby, Metroid, and a lot more. Look at the box office numbers for the Mario movie, for example. Yeah, that was made for kids, but not only kids watched it. When I look at Xbox and PlayStation, if they made a movie of their IPs, I don't think they'd ever be able to hit them numbers. They have tried and have failed. And I think they are kind of scared to continue this movie kind of thing, as it feels like they're going straight to TV shows on streaming because they're chicken. It feels like Nintendo has this ever-growing audience through their approach to characters, and this new stream of moviegoers could be huge for the next generation. Even though, yeah, it can get a bit boring after 20 years, the same formula over and over again. But still, after playing Mario Wonder so much, every time I ate mushrooms, I saw an elephant, and I was in the front line of the Amazon pre-order for Mario RPG. Nintendo hook you early, while other consoles feel like they hook you late. PlayStation just released Astro Bot, and that was weirdly like a first step into this, but it also felt like maybe they didn't have that much confidence of how popular that would be. And PlayStation could do this a lot of the time, could release these smaller games with the younger audience in mind, as they own all these IPs what were originally for younger audiences. We have Ape Escape, Jak and Daxter, and Sackboy. All are games that could have smaller budgets and rack up them sales and grow that younger audience for the future. Think of it like this: God of War isn't for everyone. I think someone needs to tell PlayStation that. Even though I love these games, even though Ragnarok was a bit underwhelming, as I thought we were going to be fighting loads of Norse gods, but we kind of only fought 3, but that's another conversation for another day that I'll probably never have. Xbox could also do this, and it's weird that none of them are. They stick to their guns, and it's really alienating this newer audience. I think Astro Bot shows that. They own Rare Studios. How many games, IPs, do they own through that? Well, they're just not using. And if, fair enough, Rare might not want to do it. Rare might want to just work on bigger games these days. That original headspace is probably completely gone from that studio. But it's not like Xbox don't own other studios, what can make these smaller games, what can make a lot of money. So it just makes no sense. Then there's the fact that Nintendo has games coming out of their Metroid. Were you expecting a Zelda game this year? Well, I was expecting 2 remakes, but anyway. But were you expecting this breath of fresh air? A game that could put tears in your eyes with Zelda Dark Echoes? What's it, Dark Echoes? What's the name of the game?
Of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
When I say personality over looks, I'm not saying that Nintendo games look like baby first indie games. I remember mine, there was a fox. I'm saying that Spider-Man 2 looks better than near all Mario games, even though most Mario games have better story and pacing. But most Mario games still look better than Spider-Man 2. And that is mostly due to the personality in their styles. It's weird, I feel like Mario and Zelda may not look amazing, but the personality in these worlds makes it feel so much better, and the fact that the gameplay is also the focus of these games make the design and look of the world feel a lot more alive.
It's alive! It's alive!
I'm not saying God of War doesn't feel alive. Every time I play that game, it does feel like I'm playing in a Norse world. I'm just kind of saying it feels like that kind of world could be in other games. Another example is Spider-Man. They're in New York City, and that obviously could be in so many other games. But I don't know, with Nintendo, it feels like when they make a world, it's for that character. It doesn't feel like any other character could be in that world, if you get what I mean. Maybe it is the gameplay suits that world so much, like the lore, the physics, the lore of physics in the game feels so natural to that world and that character. It just feels like you can do everything that character can do in that game. But in other games like God of War, it feels like it's not tailored made as much for, say, Kratos, and anyone could be in New York City. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying Nintendo does this better and kind of makes these limitations they obviously have into better stuff sometimes. I will probably most likely always really go for a God of War game if I'm picking which one I would play, but when you play both of them, it still feels like Mario is weirdly better made. I don't know if that's maybe because Nintendo have been making it for so long, but it just feels completely different, and I think that's one of the reasons Nintendo survives so well through these environments. While we get one God of War every 4 to 6 years, Mario games we get like 6 a year, Zelda games we get maybe 3, and even for the smaller IPs we could get at least 2. And a lot of these games, maybe apart from the sports ones, are good. We just got maybe one of the best Mario Party games released. We finally got to play Zelda this year as an actual playable character, and we're also going to have basically a new Mario & Luigi RPG. I thought these games aren't the most realistic, the most amazing designed, the artwork looks cool and everything, but the personality in these trailers alone makes me want to play these games. All the games that release have this personality in them, even the crappy sports ones. I think that's one of the reasons why Nintendo is surviving in this worrying video game times. In summary, I think Nintendo is a weird survival little creature through its different innovations and focus on what the status quo is and that formula they have, but also their adaptability to kind of adapt that formula to new heights. Not many companies could release a clock and really get that much excitement around it. Do you remember the Xbox toaster? And PlayStation, can you have a little bit more fun with your console? Don't be so serious. I just think at this time now, PlayStation and Xbox don't need to focus on realism anymore. I'm not saying I want Kratos party games. Actually, that would be quite cool. I'm just saying that something needs to change for both of the companies, and I think Nintendo is hitting that right nail on the head. And PlayStation and Xbox are fumbling, not knowing where to go. And just, I don't really understand what they're doing anymore. It just feels like Nintendo is going the right direction while Xbox and PlayStation are currently lost and don't understand what they're doing. They're not adapting to the current environment. They're more pushing the environment to look more realistic. And that's it for this Nintendo Kissing Ass video. What do you think of Nintendo's survival? Comment below, show your thoughts of PlayStation, Xbox as well. And remember to like and subscribe to the Mumbling Gamer for future mumbles. And if you want to support the channel, you can see us on Patreon. Check that out, and I will see you on the next mumble.